80 AD. Rome. 50,000 voices roar inside a stone machine built for one purpose: to make suffering visible. At the center of the arena stands a human being reduced to an object. Not a warrior. Not a criminal in a courtroom sense. A body meant to be used as a message. The crowd doesn't whisper. It doesn't look away. It leans forward. Because this is not justice. It is spectacle. And Rome perfected it. We like to imagine the Colosseum as heroic, gladiators, honor, combat, skill. That version is comforting. It is also incomplete. Because alongside the fighters were prisoners, slaves, political enemies, religious dissidents, and the unwanted, all processed through the same system of public destruction. Not hidden, not secret, but celebrated. The Roman arena was not entertainment in the modern sense. It was social engineering. It taught citizens who held power, who had value, and what happened to those who didn't. And tonight, you're going to see how it worked. The scale of death. From the 1st century BC to the 4th century AD, Rome built over 250 amphitheaters across its empire. Every major city had one. The Colosseum alone held around 50,000 spectators, and it was used constantly. Historians estimate that hundreds of thousands of people died in these arenas across 4 centuries, along with millions of animals imported from 3 continents. This was not random violence. It was organized, scheduled, financed, bureaucratized, death industrialized. Emperor Titus celebrated the opening of the Colosseum with 100 straight days of games. Thousands of animals were slaughtered. Thousands of people were killed. Trajan did the same after his conquests. Over 120 days of continuous spectacle, with prisoners of war turned into disposable actors in imperial theater. And the audience never stopped coming. Why? Because the arena did something nothing else could. It made cruelty feel normal. When you cheer long enough, you stop noticing the screams. Where it began. The arena did not start as entertainment. It started as ritual. In 264 BC, Roman nobles staged the first recorded blood combats at a funeral, slaves forced to fight so that their blood might honor the dead. It was called a munus, a duty. But the elite quickly realized something. Blood drew crowds. Crowds drew influence. Influence drew power. So death became political. Funeral rituals became public events. Public events became permanent institutions. Wooden stands became stone arenas. Violence stopped being symbolic. It became strategic. The hunt shows, executing nature. Rome didn't just kill people. It killed the world. Lions from Africa. Bears from Europe. Leopards, elephants, crocodiles, even giraffes. Captured, transported across deserts and seas, starved, weakened, and then released into the arena to be slaughtered for applause. Not to hunt. To display dominance. Every animal that died told the crowd, Rome owns the earth. Pliny the Elder warned that entire species were vanishing because of the games. Rome didn't care. Extinction was just another form of spectacle. Gladiators, the illusion of fairness. When we think of gladiators, we imagine equal warriors meeting honorably. That's a myth. Most fights were deliberately unbalanced. One fighter exhausted, one armored, one trained, one doomed. Some were given blunted weapons. Some were dressed as caricatures of conquered peoples. Some were sent in as jokes. The crowd didn't want fairness. It wanted suspense. It wanted to watch hope fail. Midday executions. By noon, the tone changed. Combat gave way to punishment. Criminals, deserters, prisoners of war, religious minorities, all condemned ad bestias. Tied to stakes. Thrown to animals. Burned. Crucified. Dismembered. Not in silence, but to music, narration, and cheering. Executions were staged as moral theater. Every death had a theme. Every theme had a message. Obey or become the lesson. Myth as execution. Rome took it further. Victims were forced to reenact myths, not as stories, but as deaths. A man played Orpheus and was torn apart by animals mid-performance. Another played Icarus and fell into a pit of beasts. They didn't act. They died. Art became cruelty with a script. Myth became murder with costumes. The flooded arena. Then Rome asked, "What if we flooded it?" They built artificial seas. Warships filled with prisoners, forced to fight naval battles to the death. For applause, thousands drowned. Thousands burned. Thousands bled into water that didn't belong there. Cruelty became engineering. The cost? The games devoured fortunes. They reshaped culture. They rewired morality. Philosophers warned against them. Some citizens recoiled, but the majority stayed, watching, cheering, learning. And when the empire began to fracture, the arenas emptied. The roar faded. The sand settled. The stone remained, a monument not to greatness, but to what happens when a society turns suffering into entertainment. Final warning: the Colosseum still stands. People take photos. They admire the architecture. But very few ask what it trained people to become. Because the arena was never about blood. It was about control. About teaching millions to accept cruelty as normal, power as entertainment, and obedience as pleasure. And that is the warning carved into its ruins. A civilization that learns to cheer for suffering will eventually suffer its own collapse. And Rome was only the beginning.